welcome to a very special presentation today on VirtualRacing.Network. Of course, it is the International Open Wheel League Season 18, Race 10 of 12. It's the Rescue Ranch 190, presented by Jason Lowe. Happy Mother's Day to all of you here in the United States and around the world who celebrate that. Going to be from Auto Club Speedway, a famous 2-miler in Fontana, California, that may not exist in this configuration for very much longer. 95 laps that we'll be doing here at the famed, what used to be California Speedway back when it was originally built, basically a clone of Michigan International Speedway, or very close to, and has served a lot of great series, a lot of great racing over the years. So great to be with you. I'm Trevor Greenfield, and this is this is one of those racetracks where the racing is extremely close and tight. 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide racing possible, and photo finishes certainly in the cards. As I mentioned, 95 laps we'll be doing here, and let's go ahead and take a look at the points, bring you up to speed with where things are at the moment. Get that up here on the screen for you. Here it is. Graham Bunyan pretty much in control of this championship at the moment. David Strid still has a chance at it, but he's going to need some help from Graham Bunyan in the department of not finishing up towards the top 10. But basically, Graham just needs to finish each one of these remaining races, and he'll have another championship in the books for himself. But the fight continues on. Look at that third place battle, especially 284 points for Jason Lowe, 267 for Dan Ensch, and not that much further back is Mike West. So a number of these drivers still fighting it out for the championship, and of course that's why we watch on. Last week, of course, it was a completely different story as Graham Bunyan suffered several difficulties on the track, and as a result, it was David Strid who took the victory. M.J. Ramirez taking second place, and Dan Ensch with a third place finish. So with that, we're going to send it down trackside here and pick up the qualifying as we get set for today's race here, the Rescue Ranch 190. And of course, we'll be hearing so much more about the Rescue Ranch as the race goes on. Rescue Ranch in North Carolina, Ryan and Chrissy Newman's rescue facility, and what a great job they do to help out all of those animals that are coming to them with needs. So here you can see on track, familiar face to the league, it's David Zaleski, who makes his reappearance here in round number 10. Haven't seen him all season long, but great to have him back. So currently putting in his qualifying effort. And here's Rick Kelbaugh for Team Stick Quick, right now working his way through his opening lap here at, I just still want to call it California Speedway. Of course, it's Auto Club Speedway as it's known now. I should know that. I used to have Auto Club membership for a very long time. Rick Lovison here, just coming up to speed. Always with that Berkshire Lakefront Lodge on the side pod. Dan Ensch out there for the ALZ.org Last Lap Motorsports team. And Edward Lack back in the field here today. Great to have him. He's already won one race here this season. He won last season, and he is certainly a podium contender. And at a track like this, where everybody's basically a podium contender, it should be exciting stuff at the end of this race. Graham Bunyan, as I mentioned, he's done a lot of hard work early on in this season. He's captured 5 victories, and it's all gone to good use as he's been able to basically put this championship away, and all he needs to do is just finish. And with a track like this in the cards where anything could happen, including contact, certainly a huge advantage to putting all of that hard work in much earlier. So here is Ryan Bowles out there. he's taken victory as well. He'll use that apron on his qualifying effort. And so far, good enough to put him to the top of the charts. Although it appears as though the ticker doesn't want to quite cooperate with us, so bear with us here. It's always like trying to wake itself up. It's like it needs coffee every Sunday morning. I don't know what it is. It's something to do with the connection, or I have no idea. See, it just made that change over to the other ticker. I wish I knew, but there you go. Ryan Bowles taking pole position thus far. Good for him to come out and start his day with a bang. Hopefully he'll be able to hold up there as well. Graham Bunyan only good enough for third enough fastest in this qualifying session. Dan Ensch slotting into second in that number 52 for ALZ.org Last Lap Motorsports. Jason Lowe already put in his effort, and here is David Strid, who's just completing his second run here, his second lap. Come across the line and good enough for fifth fastest. So Bowles able to do some real magic here, as Graham Bunyan is just kind of sitting stopped on the backstretch. But perhaps he's paying tribute to the site of where the great Greg Moore had his incident. David Strid doing the same, pulling alongside of, he has no idea that Graham Bunyan is parked there, of course. But either way, Ryan Bowles, good enough for qualifying history here, taking pole position. We'll be able to get to your full grid here in a moment. Last week was, as I mentioned, such a difficult moment for a number of these drivers, as it really turned out to be, you know, a bit of argy-bargy out there on the track. A couple of different incidents at various points, and Graham Bunyan the recipient of a couple of those incidents. And so not a characteristic finish from Graham Bunyan, of course, to see him finishing so far back in the order, fourth. But he had a great drive back through the field, and certainly a good recovery effort from him, and something to be proud of. So with that, we finally go official here, and we'll get a chance to bring up the starting grid for today's race. The round number 10 Rescue Ranch 190 at Auto Club for the International Open Wheel League. And you can see it is Ryan Bowles who takes pole position here. Congratulations to him. Fantastic effort from Ryan. Starting alongside will be Dan Ensch for the ALZ.org Last Lap Motorsports Machine Team. Graham Bunyan starting on the second row next to Jason Lowe for the Rescue Ranch. Of course, the title sponsor for today's race. We do appreciate Jason Lowe's commitment to rescuing animals and being able to bring that awareness of what Rescue Ranch does. As well, of course, last week, the Lowe family with Tiffany Meyer Lowe bringing us awareness for the Florida Urgent Rescue. So a couple of different organizations involved in rescue that do different operations. We appreciate the Lowe family bringing all of that to us. David Strid will be starting on the third row next to Rick Kelbaugh for Team Stick Quick. On the fourth row, it'll be Rick Lovison alongside of MJ Ramirez. And on the fifth row will be David Zaleski, who returns back to action after a long absence. And alongside him will be Edward Lack, who's, as I mentioned, always a perennial podium contender. Keep your eyes on that number 20 car. Will Stearns will be starting in the sixth row. Alongside him will be Mike West. Just behind them will be Danny Alt, who makes a return to the cockpit this week. Great to have him in the field. And Manuel Gomez Esteban for Team Mazinger. He's always got a chance at it. We'll see if he can capture a top 5 this week. Iñigo Mardones for the Necki Racing Team. He's already captured a couple of top 5s this season. Can he continue that here today? This is certainly the type of track that gives a lot of these drivers a chance to do exactly that. We see Graham Bunyan starting at the forefront. I think that's because Ryan Bowles must have had some sort of a penalty, so I will double check on that. And in the meantime, give you a little bit of a heads up. Fuel window 25 to 29, lap 25 to 29. Tire wear is minimal. Stable setup in traffic. Keeping up with the pack under green requires clean and quick pit stops. Too easy pit in and pit out entices drivers to push entry to the limit to gain an advantage. Many will push too hard and blow the stop sign. Others will play it too safe and lose the pack draft. Practice is important. Getting in and off of pit road is always super important, but certainly making sure that you don't violate those pit speed rules is the key. And so looks like Ryan Bowles is sitting on pit lane, not yet getting going. And I also see Dan Ensch is not yet part of the field, so we hope that everything is okay with the number 52 machine. Graham Bunyan just about to kick this one off. On board with Graham as he gets ready to go. And we are green here at California for the Rescue Ranch 190. As you see Strid marching straight up to the front to second place, just behind Graham Bunyan, and it looks like Jason Lowe jumping into third. There goes David Strid for the lead. So it did not take long for Strid to sense that he had an opportunity. They march side by side through the corner. You see a lot of action a little bit further back. There's Rick Kelbaugh in fourth place, already up a couple of positions. There's Edward Lack up 5 positions already, as these two at the front continue to try to trade positions. There we see Rick Kelbaugh and Edward Lack going side by side through the corner, now approaching Jason Lowe in that third spot. There goes Edward Lack up into third, up 7 spots in just 1 lap. And that just tells you the power of this draft. You see M.J. Ramirez trying to come forward as well, getting very close, and now diving down to the inside, making it 3 wide here as they exit turn 4 onto the front straight. There's going to be a lot of this kind of action here today, so you'll want to watch for it. A lot of good stuff to watch for. Here's Dan Ensch. He did make it to the start, as well did Ryan Bowles, so they are going around. Iñigo Mardones bringing up the tail end of this group. And again, whether you run at the back or the front for the majority of this race really doesn't matter. You just don't want to lose too much of that draft. And take a look at M.J. Ramirez, who had a second place just a week ago, and obviously looking for so much more here as he now pulls to the outside through turns 1 and 2. M.J. Ramirez looking for more, looking to run up front here at Auto Club Speedway, and they are not done passing. This is 2 by 2 by 2, headed straight back. So Strid takes the lead at the front, but just behind, a little bit of chaos is still unfolding, trying to sort this one out. There goes Graham Bunyan back by as well, and now we've got Mike West in the mix. Mike up 10 positions already, wanting to play at the front, passing David Strid, and now taking a look on Graham Bunyan. Here comes Mike West to the lead after starting 11 positions back. Mike West taking over at the front, and he'll get a chance to lead a lap and get a bonus point. Here comes Graham Bunyan back on the outside to try to challenge once again. M.J. Ramirez hanging tight there on the outside. I think Edward Lack sitting in that 5th position, just kind of trying to figure out when and how he wants to make his move forward. Be honest with you, if I was racing in this pack, I'd just be sort of looking for a way out of a potential calamity. Do not want to get involved in an incident early on. It's a lot of fun to go up there and play around up in front, but at the same time, I'd want to get my lap led, get my bonus point, make sure that I get that, and then probably find a place to hide out and hope that I don't get swallowed up in a big incident. But these other drivers, it's always a choice. And Graham Bunyan more than happy to lead a majority of the laps. There's M.J. Ramirez. And here comes David Strid on the low end, the low side, trying to make that pass around M.J. Ramirez again. It's 3 wide here at Auto Club Speedway on lap number 8 of 95. This is just some craziness. But I tell you what, it's not so crazy to see M.J. Ramirez up there in the lead. The president of the International Open Wheel League and frequent Indy... almost said it. Dallara IR-18 racer, M.J. Ramirez. Involved in a couple of different leagues, but always has to make time to try to get into the cockpit, and easier said than done some weeks. But he's running that high line after getting that top spot and getting to lead a lap. He's going to start to drift back a little bit, and that pulls Edward Lack up into the lead. As we mentioned, it's never a surprise to see Lack up there in front. As they come across the start-finish line to start lap number 10, it is Lack who leads for just a moment. Now David Strid decides to come back forward, and I think it's sort of a round robin here because here's David Zaleski, who's going to take his chance to come forward as well. Now up challenging for that second spot. I think he's got that second spot as they go through turn 3. They go through turns 4, and it's Zaleski who moves to the front here at Auto Club. So Zaleski, your new leader at the moment. Edward Lack just following behind. Now Lack will take his look around the outside. Unable to get there, but he'll try to pull back in and get a little bit of draft and head through turns 3 and 4. These drivers still side by side, and now finally Zaleski retakes that position. I think Lack thought maybe he might be able to close up and take the position on the inside. Line kind of forming up towards the top side on the track. So this is the point now. There's not much tire degradation, but you will see these cars start to settle down just a little bit and perhaps get into line. More often than not, what happens is these drivers just get used to running up there in the same kind of position, and they get used to, you know, they like to run in third, they like to run in second, somebody likes to run up front in the clean air. Usually it's David Strid who's up there just continually challenging to run in that clean air. He seems to really love to have no aero push affecting his car. But really, even if you can draft and get up there to the front, a lot of times it's really just easier to just sit in one spot, you know, in 4th place or 3rd place or 5th place and just kind of wait it out. Looking a little bit further back, it's Graham Bunyan who's drifted back to 6th place now. The champ is, as I mentioned, perhaps just kind of sitting back a little bit. Perhaps he's fuel saving. Perhaps he's just waiting it up, waiting up to see what happens in this race. There's a beautiful paint job coming to us from Danny Alt. Absolutely stellar paint. I can't tell, they look kind of like Lego pieces. But either way, super colorful and great to have Danny in the field. Hopefully today's a race where he can get it all the way to the end. Jason Lowe has drifted 4 positions back now, sitting in 8th place. Of course, the presenting sponsor of today's race, Jason Lowe. Manuel Gomez's stub on it sounds like he might have scraped the wall there, but now we had a 3 wide there as Graham Bunyan started to split drivers and started to come back forward. So now Bunyan just getting up behind Mike West, and he's going to sit there in 5th place. So like I said, you know, sometimes you make a decision, a summary decision, I want to sit in 5th. And that's kind of where he is right now. Not too far back that can't retake the lead if he wants to, or not too far forward that if something happens at the front, he can't hopefully miss that incident. Iñigo Mardones running here in the 666 machine. Currently running in 11th place. He's gained four spots since the start. Got Rick Kelbaugh and Manuel Gomez-Esteban just in front. Right on board for a moment with Gomez-Esteban for Team Mazinger. As he surveys the landscape, as you can see, it's really not very far to the front. I mean, honestly, if you really wanted to from here, it'd only take you like maybe 2 or 3 laps to work your way up to the front. So it's not, it's an amazing thing with this draft here at Auto Club, and certainly gives all of these drivers a real chance to get up there and try and challenge. So you hear Gomez-Esteban having to back out there. The Spaniard just kind of being patient in the early going here. Just 18 laps into this 95-lap race. Once again, the Rescue Ranch 190, round number 10 of 12 for the International Open Wheel League. And that's a lap around with Manuel Gomez-Esteban. Iñigo Mardones, as I mentioned, doing a fine job. But here's another great driver in the field, Rick Lovison. He's here every single week putting in the laps. He's right now just kind of hanging on to the back of the group, just waiting to see what happens out here. Watch the stable hands that he has on board. As we watch him try to keep tabs and try and keep contact with this group, not wanting to drift too far back here, as that could pose a real problem if you get more than about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds back from the field. So you always want to stay a little bit of a gap back. And just for your frame of reference, right now it's just about 1/4 second back. So you can afford to drift back quite a ways, and there's definitely a strategy to doing so. I mean, it's not uncommon to see an incident that comes out that really affects the whole field. So Ryan Bowles back here in 13th place. As I mentioned, he had to start from the pits, and so 5 seconds back at the moment, and he's going to hope for perhaps a caution to come out, as it's difficult to catch up. It's not impossible, just depends on what happens up in front, but basically would need a caution to catch back up again, or perhaps when the pit cycles start, he'll get a chance to draft with somebody going forward, and that might help him as well. Here's Will Stearns. Currently finds himself with Dan Ensch, and I think they're trying to swap draft here on the front stretch to try to catch back up. Currently sitting about 12.3 seconds back from Ryan Bowles is this duo of Dan Ensch and Will Stearns, and so they're doing everything they can to try to catch back up, but it is a long old road to do so. And as you can see, they're about 1/4 lap ahead. Suppose we could put the track map up and make it a little bit easier to see. They're, you know, a little bit under 1/2 lap ahead of this group before they have to worry about getting lapped. But at the front, it's David Zaleski and Edward Lack who continue to trade the lead. Mike West sitting in 3rd, Graham Bunyan in 4th position. So just coming up to in fact, we're just over 1/4 of the way through this race, and when it stays green, this is an easy track to not have an issue with. I do see that Edward Lack, though, decided to come into pit road. Not sure if that was I mean, it has to be a strategy decision, but Edward Lack reporting to pit road and now going to take his first pit stop. Dan Ensch coming in behind, and you also see Will Stearns now coming in as well. So some early takers here, and now we get David Zaleski and Mike West in. I believe also MJ Ramirez coming to pit road, as well as Rick Lovison. So a number of these drivers making their way down here into the pits. There's Ryan Bowles as well. So we'll keep tabs on that. Meanwhile, back up at the front, it's Graham Bunyan with David Strid and Manuel Gomez-Esteban. I'm just talking about how he was waiting for his opportunity. Here he comes to the front. He'll get a chance to lead a lap. And he does, in fact, lead a lap here at Auto Club Speedway in the Rescue Ranch 190. Good for him. Seizing the opportunity when others make their pit stop and heading out there and getting in some fast laps. David Strid now says, I think I want to lead the next lap, and he'll take a look on the low line, and I think Gomez-Esteban says, okay, I've led. That's all I really wanted to do. David Strid now pulling into the pits. Jason Lowe takes his car down to the low line for Rescue Ranch. And perhaps we'll get a chance to get the sponsored car into victory lane today, as Jason Lowe does take the lead for the first time here. So now just left with 3 drivers, Gomez-Esteban, Iñigo Mardones, and Jason Lowe. And we definitely expect these 3 drivers to make their way into pit lane here very soon. Here comes, I believe, Manuel Gomez-Esteban onto pit road, and that was Jason Lowe up in front. A big puff of smoke, big tire smoke as Jason Lowe made his way into the pits there. See if we can catch that one more time. This was as Jason Lowe came into the pits. Well, he did puff the tires a little bit, but certainly wasn't enough to even make much of a difference on our screen as we were watching along. Iñigo Mardones, though, now into the pits. So he's the last one to take on tires and fuel. Here comes Edward Lack on the outside. You'll see him flash by. It'll be green and black. And it looks like Jason Lowe, with a great pit stop, manages to get back out in front of the group. Now, of course, he gets swallowed alive there. But it's a fantastic round of pit stop to get out there and get back out in front of the group. So take a look here in just a moment at all of their pit times to be able to see who was the fastest on pit road, which has become a very interesting graphic as the season has gone on. In fact, I would say Jason Lowe at this point has really taken over the crown of having the fastest overall pit stops each week, which is an interesting area of strategy to focus on, but it is a way to gain a valuable second or two, and in these races certainly is extremely important. So we see Edward Lack out in front. Second place is Graham Bunyan. Third is David Zaleski. Fourth is Mike West. Fifth right now, David Strid, although Strid and West swapping that position there for fourth position. As these drivers make their way around, take a look here at the pit lane time. As you look on your screen, you can see it looks like the fastest overall times shared by Strid and Lack at 41.0 seconds until you get down to Jason Lowe, who had just a couple of tenths faster on pit lane, 40.8. So once again, Jason Lowe's pit lane practice pays off as the fastest man on pit lane in the league at the moment. And you can see Bunyan actually a little bit slower than the rest of the group, 42.6. But again, it doesn't really matter too much at a track like this. You can draft back up to the front, no problem. At another track, though, you know, the difference of a 1.6 seconds is pretty substantial, or 1.8 seconds, excuse me, would be a pretty substantial one. So, you know, it all depends on how you get into your pit box. Depends how much fuel you have to take on board and a number of other issues. But either way, some of these drivers at an advantage, some of these drivers at a little bit of a disadvantage. It kind of also depends on whether you can go straight off of pit road or not, or you have to come out to the second lane, which if you're in one of the first 3 pit boxes, you gain a small advantage by being able to just leave off of the front. Of course, that's not the case for Jason Lowe here today, because Lowe did not qualify in the first 3 pit boxes. So if we look at the pit stop time, you'll see as well, Jason Lowe was not the fastest in his actual pit box. That time belonging to Zaleski and Strid with equal 8.0 second pit stops as well. Rick Lovison in there with an 8-second pit stop. So just interesting ways to keep track of what's going on, but it doesn't matter too much, as I mentioned, at a track like this where there's so much drafting to be done. This is the top group now, and I think we're starting to see a bit. I mean, this is like a 5-second break to Rick Kelbaugh, so this is truly the group, if it stays green, that will have a chance at this one, as Kelbaugh has now drifted too far back to really be able to do much in terms of catching back up, unfortunately, without a yellow flag. Edward Lack, your leader, followed by Graham Bunyan, David Zaleski, David Strid, Mike West. That's your top 5. Jason Lowe, Rick Kelbaugh, Rick Lovison, Danny Alt, and Ryan Bowles, your top 10. As we look a little bit further back, this is Rick Lovison and Rick Kelbaugh swapping positions there for 7th and 8th. And just 2 seconds back now of this group is Ryan Bowles. So Bowles has already been able to, as he has Danny Alt and Manuel Gomez Esteban in tow there, they are now pulling themselves back up towards Rick Lovison and Richard Kelbaugh, and then that will put them about 5 seconds back from the main group. So we'll see if Bowles can manage to lead everybody back up to the front. In the meantime, it looks like as we go further back, it's Iñigo Mardones, who's gone about 10 seconds adrift of Manuel Gomez Esteban, so definitely having some sort of a problem with that round of pit stops. And now MJ Ramirez also having an issue with that round of pit stops, currently sitting back in 13th position, 2 seconds back from Iñigo Mardones and about 12 seconds back now from Manuel Gomez Esteban. So we'll go ahead and put the track map back up, and you can see where your favorite driver is located in the field. Dan Ensch currently sitting just behind. You can see him there in the shot. But Ensch doing a fabulous job, as always, to represent ALZ.org and Last Lap Motorsports. But today, not really shaping up to be the day of his dreams, unfortunately, for that driver. But, you know, never say never, because still a little ways to go until the end of this race, and one single yellow flag could catch everybody back up before the end of this one. It's racing side by side with MJ Ramirez, and perhaps the two are trying to work together to claw their way back into this one, about 2 seconds back of Iñigo Mardones at the moment. And then Will Stearns still out there, just about to make another pit stop here, but assuming he does not park that vehicle, that will be everybody still left in this race. And it's always great to see that as we get close to halfway here. So for too long, we will step aside as we get to about halfway here, done with this race. Be stepping aside for a moment and hearing a bit more from our presenting sponsor, Rescue Ranch. But first, Graham Bunyan continues to march forward, and He started third, but now he's holding everybody at bay at front as, just as I say that, Edward Lack now trying to poke his nose back up there in front and take the lead. David Zaleski still hanging on strong in this group. David Strid in there. Mike West as well. On back to Jason Lowe, who is now challenging Mike West for that final spot in this group. Mike West now back to 6th position. But again, you know, Mike started much further back. I mean, he started in 12th place. So this is just kind of what I was saying earlier about if you start further back in the pack and you want to avoid incidents, but you want to go up there and still be part of the group, you want to make sure that you get up there towards the front group. You don't necessarily have to run in the top 2 or 3, but you do have to stay in touch with that front group. And it's easier said than done with the pit stop exchanges and making sure that you get down to the proper pit lane speed. But either way, something that's kind of got to be done. And if not, you end up drifting, you know, more than a second and a half back from this lead group for whatever reason. It is going to be really difficult to catch up at the end, especially if it stays green. And fortunately, it's stayed green thus far here. It's always a beautiful thing to see a green flag race from beginning to end if it's possible. But round number 10 here at Auto Club Speedway for the Rescue Ranch 190 of Season 18, the International Open Wheel League, is off to a great start. And with that, we're going to take a chance to go side by side here. You won't miss a thing. We're going to get a chance to hear from the great Rescue Ranch. And it's always so cool to see this video. I know we've shown it a lot of seasons, but I don't think they could produce a better one. It certainly shows what they do and how they impact kids around the entire area. And they come out and get a great education, hands-on training with the animals, a real appreciation. And you can just see in these kids' eyes what it does to spark interest in potentially helping out with animals, becoming veterinarians, etc. A great way if kids have an interest in animals to get them out there and really let them explore it. So I'll let them do a little bit more talking. Stay tuned here, and of course you won't miss anything as we go side by side. Here's the Rescue Ranch.
Is this thing even on?
Hey guys, I'm Carson.
And I'm Kennedy.
And welcome to Rescue Ranch. Here at Rescue Ranch, we believe learning, inspiration, hope, and exploration are the keys to enhance the human bond and respect with all animals. And believe me, we have lots of animals.
Lizards, birds, snakes,
Hedgehogs,
goats, and guinea pigs, rabbits, prairie dogs, geckos, chinchillas.
My favorite animal at Critter Camp is the bunnies.
The bunnies. My favorite animal at Rescue Ranch is Ivy. Ivy is a Flemish giant rabbit.
My favorite animal is Copper.
Copper, and he is a guinea pig. I don't get to meet giant lizards from Cuba very often.
We have tons of programs for all ages with animal interactions, science experiments, service projects, special speakers, and even birthday parties. All of them promoting compassion for animals and responsible pet ownership. The best way for us to learn is to get involved, and that can be a lot of fun, but sometimes it's a lot of work. We have cleaned the animals' enclosures.
They poop on their cages and we have to scrub it off, but it's hard to get off.
It's important because they want clean water and clean food and just a clean enclosure and a clean life.
It's not as bad as you would think.
Since 2012, Rescue Ranch has grown to one of the premier animal education centers of its kind, reaching thousands of children in North Carolina and beyond. And with your help, we're making the experience available to everyone. With this incredible 10,000 square foot inclusive playground, allowing children of all abilities to play together.
When I first saw the playground, I was really excited that there was a playground. So we don't only get to see the animals, we also get to play. There's swirly slides, and tall slides, and short slides, and bumpy slides.
Lots of stuff you wouldn't expect to see on a playground.
The first thing I saw and wanted to do was the zip line.
The zip line.
The zip line.
I really like the zip line. I went on the zip line first because it looked really, really cool.
The zip lines and the net and like the little swing that goes like side. The spinner thing? Yeah. Rescue Ranch has come a long way.
And we have a lot more planned, like nature hiking and walking education trails, a 24-hour emergency veterinary clinic, and a rescue foster adoption program.
Just remember, everything we've done and everything we will do is thanks to you.
Thank you for helping Rescue Ranch.
Thank you for helping Rescue Ranch.
Thank you for supporting Rescue Ranch. We can't do it without you.
We can't do it without you. Please be generous. That's a wrap.
Oh, goodness. And of course, we invite everybody to donate over at rescueranch.com and visit rescueranchadoptions.com as that's a new part of it, the Rescue Ranch Adoptions, where you can actually adopt some of these animals that have come through the rescue process. There you see David Strid rejoining on the track just behind the other drivers who are already in that lead group. Got Manuel Gomez-Esteban, who has yet to pit, and so therefore is still out there in front. He's about to head down onto pit road at the moment. And then next up, Iñigo Mardones just making his pit stop as well. On the track, though, it's Edward Black and Graham Bunyan, David Zaleski, Jason Lowe for that Rescue Ranch. David Strid just bringing up the tail end of this group right here. Rick Lovison, Ryan Bowles, and Mike West just separated now by a little bit. It's Mike West back 1.67 seconds from this group, and then another 6.3 seconds back to this group, which includes Rick Lovison and Ryan Bowles. Looks like Gomez-Esteban going to slot out somewhere just in front of this group here. Sorry, just behind, actually, this group here as Gomez-Esteban just gets rolling there. Rick Kelbaugh out there at the moment for Team Stick Quick, doing a great job. Looking at another potential top 10 as Gomez-Esteban comes out right behind. Currently up into that 9th spot as he passes Esteban on the track. Dan Ensch still trying to gain ground. Running in that 11th spot for the ALZ.org Glass Lap Motorsports machine and team. Iñigo Mardones hanging on to the back of this lead group, but not part of it as far as position. And you see, also, it looks like, well, check in here. There's MJ Ramirez, who's still part of this group, but again, not on the lead lap, so just trying to fight to get up there and potentially get his lap back. And then you've got Will Stearns, who's actually pulled off the track and is no longer in contention for today's race. He's decided that's it. So once again, so happy to be able to bring that awareness of the Rescue Ranch and a chance to talk a little bit more about it. Promoting compassion for all animals through rescue and education. Formed in 2012 on 87 acres in Statesville, North Carolina. Rescue Ranch is a 501c3 nonprofit animal welfare organization co-founded by Chrissy Newman and NASCAR driver Ryan Newman. So, of course, that's great connection. And I can just add, too, it's been great that Jason Lowe has sponsored these races and donated it to the Rescue Ranch and their cause. Of course, Jason, you know, rescuing multiple animals himself, and frequently I see the posts either on Jason's posts on Facebook or Tiffany's posts on Facebook, and you know, just kind of living the dream life with all these animals, these dogs and cats that are just having their own little private private dramas and happiness and cuteness and all of that good stuff. Certainly a couple of them having, you know, behaviors that need to be settled down over time, and eventually as they do start to settle down, it's really amazing to see what happens there, not just in his house, but like I said, reflective of what goes on at Rescue Ranch, where these animals come in and they're able to be given you know, proper care, treatment, attention, etc. Rescue Ranch is a humane education center at the heart of Iredell County, North Carolina, that provides sanctuary and permanent residency to more than 80 rescued animals. Animals all have a story to share as they come to the ranch from situations like neglect, hoarding, or owner surrender. They are affectionately known as Rescue Ranch's animal ambassadors and are an integral component of our humane education programs. Our education programs incorporate hands-on learning to support our mission of promoting compassion and respect for all animals. So since our inception 2012, we've educated more than 35,000 people through our educational programs. And I mean, that's just the beginning. You can, of course, head on over to rescueranch.com, where you'll see so much more about what's going on with the group and you know, just how it has changed over the years and all of the different programs and the ways to get involved. Of course, the easiest way to get involved is to either promote them through a fundraiser or just to promote their message out to your social media if you have the ability to do so. Just, you know, take their website, paste it into your social media, and go ahead and tag Jason Lowe in it if you can. But either way, just paste their website link into your social media, let your friends see it. And also you can do a fundraiser, I believe, through Facebook. I'm not sure if they have it directly set up with them, but I believe that they do. So you can do a fundraiser that way, or you can do other fundraisers directly in connection with them. But also you can just donate directly. So head over to rescueranch.com and make your donation, make your voice heard. Tell them that you support us and that you support racing and rescuing animals. So back to this one, though. We're getting close to the end. It stayed green this whole time. And we're sitting here on lap number 65 of 95. I mean, we just got 30 laps remaining in this one, and we'll see how it's shaking out. At the front, it's Graham Bunyan in the familiar 101 machine. He leads the championship. He is the defending champion in the series. We'll see whether or not he can do it. Just in front of him, though, he slid by while we were talking about it, and they continue to swap draft here at the front. It's Edward Lack, who just in that moment that I've been talking about it has now slid back to second. But here's a surprise. Well, for those of you that have been following for as many seasons as we've been broadcasting here, it's not a surprise. You get this guy, David Zaleski, onto a wide open track, and he is just about as good as anybody on iRacing. He's taken victory before. He's proving right now that he has the pace and the capability to hold very close quarters with all of these other racers in the IR-18 at very high speed. So Zaleski currently running in that third spot at the moment. We can just see some of those high speeds that everybody is at. Mike West sitting in fourth spot, and he's done a heck of a job. He's gained 8 positions from where he started. Currently sitting in that fourth spot, as I mentioned. And Mike looking to get another podium, as he's been known to do. He's been known to get up there and swipe a podium occasionally. So we'll see whether or not that's in the cards today. Of course, everything is in the cards, and up to they can go and get second, first. It really just comes down to how they're feeling at the very end of this race and whether or not they can manage to make the right moves. But this is David Strid just getting up to 230 miles an hour as he enters turn number 3. Strid started all the way back in 5th position. It's kind of weird to say that, as he's not only the guy who creates the setups every week, but he's one of the absolute fastest racers on ovals, and certainly one of the fastest in this league. Typically either first or second is his qualifying, but today only good enough for 5th fastest, and yet here he is hanging out in 4th position. So we'll see whether or not he can hold on to that position or perhaps increase it. And here's also Jason Lowe, who's part of this lead group now. This has been an interesting race for Jason. He's kind of sat towards the back of the pack. He surged forward when he felt like he wanted to. He's had some of the fastest pit stops, as we see one of the cars there. I'm not sure who that was. It wasn't Rick Lovison, who's racing with Ryan Bowles. I think that was M.J. Ramirez, in fact, who drifted up the track. In fact, it was. And now has fallen back. He drifted up mid-corner, kind of scraped the wall there, and now has fallen back. But he is currently sitting 2 laps down at the moment, I believe. So not part of this lead group at all. And now we've seen Jason Lowe making that final stop onto pit road. So this could be, you know, with 25 laps to go, this is either the undercut strategy decision that will win him this race, or, you know, and he's covering in case there is a yellow flag, or this is a decision that's going to cost him a bunch, because as the group goes by on the track, he's now officially a lap down. And so we watch on to see how this will work out for Jason Lowe. Put that track map back up there so you can see exactly where your favorite driver is at in the field. Edward Lack currently sitting at the top of the board. Graham Bunyan in second. Lack now biting. He's going to come in and take that pit stop. So Edward Lack now pitting out of the lead. And I think that was all signaled by Jason Lowe, who decided to bite first and get that final stop done and out of the way. David Zaleski currently in the front. You know, the other benefit to Jason Lowe coming in early, and I'll just say this, if you're with the group there and everybody decides to come into the pits, you're gonna have to probably check up. And Jason Lowe seems to have the fastest pit lane speed time of anybody, and usually that's by knowing exactly when to get on the brakes and, you know, the latest that you can to get to pit road. And if you're having to check up because the drivers in front of you are a little slow, then, you know, to do it by yourself, you'll get the fastest pit lane speed. You might gain a second or two just by doing that. So we'll see how this all cycles around and works out. But right now, this lead group has been cut down to 4 as Edward Lack has peeled off into the pits, and Jason Lowe. Now it's David Zaleski, Graham Bunyan, David Strid, and Mike West all running at the front on this one. Then got to go 7.3 seconds back to Ryan Bowles. That time was 231 miles per hour into turn number 1, if you can believe our software. But on board once again with the 025 machine. This is about as high as he's gotten up there. Now we've got several drivers making their way onto pit road. It's Graham Bunyan, David Zaleski, Mike West, and Ryan Bowles. Heading down pit lane. It's going to be the final time on pit lane for these drivers. There is the champ pulling into his pit box. Immediately up onto the jacks. There you see Bowles sliding in just in front. And Bunyan accelerates away once again, with Zaleski right on his tail. So Zaleski losing nothing in these pit stops, looking like he's been racing every single week non-stop, able to get in and off of pit road very, very easily. And so where does that put Jason Lowe? Well, he's right here in the mix. So he's lost nothing with that round of pit stops either. In fact, he's closer than ever to a potential victory here for Rescue Ranch. So currently sitting in 4th spot. David Strid still circulating out there. He and Manuel Gomez-Esteban still have not pulled down into the pits. So we'll see whether or not this is the lap for them, as they continue to lead by a lap here at Auto Club Speedway. So there comes Strid in. Giant puff of smoke as he makes his way down pit lane for the final time, and I believe that will hand over the lead, depending on whether he's not going to come in this lap, so he'll lead one more lap. Manuel Gomez-Esteban will, actually he won't get credit for leading this one because Strid had gone over start finish line ahead. So Gomez-Esteban gonna hang out there for one more lap, and then we will see everything circulate. It'll be Graham Bunyan who will take over the lead very shortly. And here comes Gomez-Esteban. So once again, great to have you with us as we get to the closing stages here of the Rescue Ranch 190, round number 10 at Auto Club Speedway. Gomez-Esteban making that pit stop, that very long pit road there. And I've been one of those people who have been fortunate enough to drive a real life one of these cars on this track. It was sensational, part of a program that was being offered, Driving 101. As we see Edward Lack getting really far up the track there on exit. That was very close to David Zaleski. And so, yes, I've gotten a chance to drive a race car down pit lane here at Auto Club Speedway. It was a lot of fun and even more memorable with the way that they're going to reconfigure this whole thing. So we'll see how that all works out in the near future. But either way, Graham Bunyan, your leader here at Auto Club. David Strid sitting in 2nd place, David Zaleski in 3rd, Edward Lack in 4th, Jason Lowe in 5th place. Ryan Bowles is the next car, not shown in this pack here. He's about 7.84 seconds back down the road, so unless we have a yellow flag, it's going to be this group here. You see Mike West part of that group, but actually Mike has kind of suffered some issues here, I think, potentially. And so Mike, even though he's shown in this group, he's not actually part of it for position. You got Bowles, Lovison, and Gomez-Esteban, the next driver, in 8th place. Dan Ensch has worked his way up to 9th. You see Rick Kelbaugh there in front of him. Unfortunately, he has also fallen on difficult times in this race. Now shown a further lap down to this group. But out there trying to lap with Dan Ensch and try and make the most of it. Danny Alt, part of this lead group now at the moment, holding some good pace. But unfortunately, his time in the sun has come to an end as he's fallen several laps behind, and now he's just sort of drifting up the track and getting out of everybody's way. Will Stearns, of course, out of this race as mentioned earlier. So Graham Bunyan with just 12 laps to go, leading this group around. David Zaleski in 2nd, David Strid in 3rd, Edward Lack in 4th, Jason Lowe in 5th place. And we're just coming to 10 to go. It's been caution-free so far. I'm trying, I'm urged to not say that, just I don't want to jinx anything, but it's been sensational, the fact that it has stayed caution-free. In fact, going back a couple of weeks to the season closer over in another league, they managed to go caution-free here as well. And that was just, it's a shock when that happens, because track like this, such high speeds and these cars diving in and out. We jump on board with Graham Bunyan and you can just see how close it is. I mean, inches apart here, but the track is so wide and very forgiving. So many different lines that can be raced here. Really one of the greatest tracks that the Real Life Series has ever been to. Of course, as I mentioned before, tragedy striking this track not long after it opened. The loss of Greg Moore. But, you know, it was right off of turn 2. One day, we're watching the race and sadly lost control. There was grass there at the time, and there is no longer grass there in real life because of that incident. Just no way for him to slow that car down, and no way for it to be able to shed the pieces that it needed to save his life. But basically, the series continuing on, and certainly NASCAR visiting here ever since, having lots of great races. And I think a lot of the discussion of when they're going to change this over to a short track is, you know, it's like seeing North Wilkesboro or another great track start to say they're fading away and they're perhaps going to get demolished. You know, it's like, hey, this was a great track. You don't need to do that. And it's unfortunate that that's what's happening, but it is, unfortunately. It's not going to be demolished, but it will be heavily changed. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff here. They do drag racing. There's also a karting track that's been operating out in basically the parking lot for a number of years. So, sad to see. There's also the Amtrak link that goes right alongside. So basically, you could get here by train if you wanted to. Great track. It is in the dusty Inland Empire, and frequently you can't even see the mountain that's out in back of the track. But on a clear day, it's absolutely beautiful. If it's cool enough, if it's a cool enough day out there, my goodness, it's one of the best tracks in Southern California, best tracks in the Southwest, and certainly one of the best ovals in the world for certain, and in a great place. But 6 to go here. It is anyone's race. Graham Bunyan, David Strid, David Zaleski, Edward Lack, Jason Lowe, all part of this front group racing for this position. Now 3 wide on the front stretches. David Strid nearly gets into David Zaleski, and the 3 kind of fan out again. Zaleski wants this win. You can just feel it. It's Graham Bunyan who continues to hold the front. There's Danny Alt still hanging on to that group, even though he is not a front runner. He's gonna have to be really careful with racing for position, or trying to race these drivers who are trying to finish this one up. But this group really trying to race all of them together to try to find a way to get past Graham Bunyan, who currently sits down at that low line and basically is just trying to hang on for dear life. Can't go below the low line, the white line down there. But here comes David Zaleski on the high side. He's going to try to make it work out there. David Strid fans out wide. Graham Bunyan basically exactly where he wants to be, just hanging on that low line, and nobody can seem to pass him. Zaleski on the high side. Now, if he could get some help out there, there's a possibility. Or if someone could get a very long draft in, there's a possibility they could make the pass. But you look back, and there goes Zaleski once again on the outside. But you just can't get that run. 3 laps remaining here at Auto Club Speedway. 2 this time by. Graham Bunyan, your leader. David Zaleski in second place. David Strid in third. Edward Lack in fourth. Who will it be at the end of this one? Will it even be Jason Lowe, who's sitting in that 5th spot? They're coming off of turn number 2. They're going to be coming to the white flag this time by at the flag stand. Barty, the flag man, has the white flag in air, and he has given them the white flag. They march by 3 wide on the front stretch. It's Graham Bunyan on the low side, David Zaleski in second, and on the high side, it is David Strid. They go down the backstretch. I don't know if Zaleski has the ability. He's going to try to make the move on the outside. Here comes David Strid, making it 3 wide. Zaleski gives it a chance to make it on the outside. Will he try to dive underneath? There's no room. He's going to try to take it in the middle on the outside of Graham Bunyan, and he can't do it. David Zaleski going to have to settle for second here, and David Strid in third, as Graham Bunyan had worked himself to that coveted low line and was just able to hold that line for the last part of this race as we went green flag this whole way. Jason Lowe hanging on to a solid 4th place for the Rescue Ranch, title sponsor for today's race. And Edward Lack, well, today wasn't his day for a podium, but he does manage to take 5th place, and that was a heck of a good job by him. Rick Lovison finishing just out of that group. So with that, we're going to step aside for just a moment here on VirtualRacing.Network. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the official results here, and also we'll get a chance to talk with some of these final podium finishers in our Rescue Ranch Victory Circle. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. And welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network as we had an exciting green flag race here for round number 10 of 12 of season 18 for the International Open Wheel League here at Auto Club Speedway. It's the Rescue Ranch 190. It was so great to see it go green flag the entire way. Got a chance to really see these drivers do what they do best, which is execute on the track and make their pit stop cycles. And in the end, it was, of course, your defending champion and your series points leader who pretty much solidifies this next championship in his name by taking victory here at Auto Club Speedway. Graham Bunyan in the 101 machine stealing victory here. And second place is, of course, David Zaleski. Just decided he was going to join today's race. Always great to have him back in the field, especially at a track like this. Kept Graham Bunyan honest. If Graham hadn't known exactly what to do there in those final laps, it would have been David Zaleski in victory circle. But unfortunately, he was not able to overcome that low line advantage. And as a result, Zaleski taking second place here in his debut this season. Great to have another driver returning back. David Strid, he qualified a little bit further back, but he manages to finish on the podium just ahead of his nearest rival in the championship, Jason Lowe. And I think that will probably lock down second for David Strid in the championship as well. Jason Lowe for the Rescue Ranch manages to finish in fourth place. A solid finish for him. No real mistakes today. He raced as hard as he could. Looked like he potentially could have had a podium here today, but he still finishes in the top 5, and that's the way to go. Edward Lack ends up in 5th. I thought maybe there might be more under that number 20's hood than that, but unfortunately he wasn't able to get up there and challenge for that final podium today. Able to get into 5th place, though. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see more of Edward Lack back in the league here for the final races. Of course, with Indy coming up here not very far away. That's always one to circle on your calendar. Rick Lovison, great run here to end up in 6th place out of 15 drivers. Lovison continues to have great runs this season, inching his way towards finishing in the top 5 consistently, just outside the top 5 today for 6th place. Rick Lovison also, Ryan Bowles also. You know, Ryan, one of those drivers that if he's not finishing up at the front after taking pole position, he struggles a little bit, falls back. This is one of those days today. He finished in 7th place, but he did have to start from the pits. So up and down day for Ryan, but either way, fantastic way to stick it out and get a top 10. Dan Ensch, not the finish that he would like, finishing 25 seconds adrift of everyone else, but he too also had to start from the pits today. Manuel Gomez Esteban managed to lead a couple of laps out there. He was running some great strategy. Unfortunately, only good enough for 9th place. Iñigo Mardones, he too was running very well early on, but ended up in 10th place, a lap down. Mike West, same thing, was up there in the top 3 or 4, drifted back, had an issue, and ended up a lap down. Rick Kelbaugh, MJ Ramirez, these drivers, both Danny Alt as well, racing really well early on, and unfortunately finishing back towards the back. And Will Stearns finishing his day early. Now let's go ahead and jump over into our Victory Circle discussion area, and looks like the only person who is wanting to have a chat with us that's just fine by me, I guess. Of course, we congratulate David Strid on his 3rd place and David Zaleski on his 2nd place. But I'm joined here by the champ, the guy who does it all from Brisbane, Australia. Seems to know how to win them, whether there's yellow flags or green flags waving in the air. Graham Bunyan, another solid victory, and I think this is pretty close to cementing that next championship for yourself, my friend.
Yeah, hi Trevor. Yeah, I don't know where I sit in the points at the moment, so I know I'm up there, but I don't know what the points are between myself 2nd and 3rd. But yeah, wow, I had to pull a defensive move there, and it's not one of the ways I like to race and hold that bottom line, but I'm quite surprised they didn't have a go at me, because I did try and practice that same move with somebody else running down low, and I got a slingshot off 2 cars and passed them down the front stretch, so quite surprised I didn't try that move. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I think we all think that that's possible, but I mean, you got to plan it. You got to be in the right position. Certainly, I don't think anybody was fuel saving because everybody did have a chance to come in on the lap that they wanted to come in on. But at the same time, you know, sometimes it just seems like that car just doesn't want to go. Like, you get up there and it's like it just doesn't want to take the full draft, or maybe you just don't time it right. But either way, Graham, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if you were the car that was behind and you had to slingshot somebody on the low line, and you were able to pull it off. So talk about that. What was it like today? I mean, first of all, it's kind of a dream come true. Green flag race the whole way through. So talk about that, but also how the car handled today. Did you encounter any difficulties? What was it like from the cockpit of the 101?
Look, really no difficulties at all. Towards the end of the run, there was very minimal tyre wear, but the tyres did heat up, so that generated a little bit of push. But other than that, the actual setup that's been provided this week is just top notch. Really didn't have to do anything. I didn't change a thing. It's one of the first times I've actually driven a car and not changed something. It was just, should go into the Indy fix. They might enjoy it. But
well, and so then, you know, talking about that, of course, it was David Strid who supplies these setups, and it seems like each season, each race that goes along, he continues to be able to put out even better and better setups. It's just amazing how solid and consistent these setups have gotten. And I know there were, like, when I started in season 10, I think different people were contributing setups at different times, and there were some complaints about, you know, oh, it doesn't handle well this week, it's handling a little bit better next week. I mean, it's been a long time since I've even heard a complaint on setups in this league. But also, what was it like to race with David Zaleski, and were you surprised to see not only that he joined, but the fact that he was right there at the end, potentially able to take victory if you had slipped up?
Yeah, no, look, good to see him back, and good to see him straight into it. Made his car a little wider than I would have made it, but yeah, he definitely moved a few people and was up there with us. So yeah, look, it's always good to have people come back and have good races, and that's what it's all about.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, you got out and got a YouTube on your very first long distance ride with your new Harley. I know it's been a long time waiting to get out there and get that. Any chance that just gave you that extra little bit of relaxation going into this race and just kind of settled your nerves a little bit? Things are feeling good, they're looking good, and as a result you're performing well?
Yeah, look, I'm a lot more relaxed these days, although when you do a indie race and you have disrespectful people, not here though, elsewhere, you know where I'm talking about. The old turkey name came out, but anyway, yeah, look, no, it's been good. It's been good, and like I said, like 15 drivers today. It'd be nice to have 25 to even 33 drivers. I think that'd be awesome, and there doesn't have to be the same winner every week. It could be mixed about. It's, again, I just keep on telling you, people have got to believe in themselves that they can actually do it.
Well, and I think we will continue to see that and hopefully see some growth as some new plans are in the makings to hopefully work with what we've got here in the International Open Wheel League and the general landscape of iRacing and this car that we generally are using and broadcasting. Hopefully we can continue to grow and bring some new names in to challenge, but either way, that was fun getting to run with you the other day at Monza, and you know, people didn't understand what you meant by turkey, and for me up here in the Northwest, well, previously in the Northwest, to see turkeys crossing the road, you basically have to stop for the turkey, you know, the gaggle of turkeys. It's like ducks or it's like anything else, you know, they are completely oblivious, or deer, you know, sometimes deer usually go skittering off, but you know, I've heard you don't want to encounter a roo down there on the road, that you know, you just do everything you can to avoid them if you ever come across them.
Well, yeah, the worst thing with the kangaroo, if that comes through your windscreen, you're going to have your neck ripped out pretty much. The claws on those things are absolutely as sharp as can be and as long as can be, and yeah, if they're still alive after the hit, they take cover because they can thrash out and actually cause serious life-threatening injuries. It's
amazing because you've got your share of insects and animals down there. They all kind of end up in that same disclaimer, like, you know, do not tangle with this thing, otherwise you could end up in some terrible shape. But either way, Graham, so glad that you're able to get your Harley situation squared away. I know that's been an ongoing saga, but things kind of starting to settle down. Are we ever going to see you move to the new cockpit, the new sim rig?
You know what? I've been off work. Actually, I'm gonna do it. Starting tomorrow. I'm gonna start tinkering around with it a bit more. I've been off work for a week and a bit now, and I'm off again for another week and a half. So
no excuses.
Yeah, no excuses, man. No excuses. It's like that thing, you know. It's like, why change something now if it's not broken? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you
what,
hopefully
I'll get it done.
It was like the first time I ever got new slicks on my race car. People were saying, okay, now it's going to take a big adjustment. You may not like the feeling at first. You know, it may feel really, you know, grippy, and it may, you know, really offset the balance on it. And I was like, okay, give it to me. So they put the slicks on. I go out there. I'm like, this is how the race car should handle. I mean, you want that grip, you want all of that good stuff, and you got a great thing sitting there for your new sim cockpit. And I think now that this season is potentially in the bag, you know, hopefully good luck setting it up. Let us know over on Facebook. We'll watch for that. And in the meantime, Graham, you've done a heck of a job here in season 18, and good luck with the rest of the season. Anybody you'd like to shout out before we close this one out?
Yeah, just week in, week out. Thank everybody for turning up, and congrats to the podium. David Zaleski for his second, Dave third, Jason and Edward, well done. And Jason also for bringing Rescue Ranch on board for this race as well. It's a shame he's not here to talk about it, but I'm not sure if he's got some technical issues or what, but I don't know much about Rescue Ranch, so I can't talk about it.
It's a good group, and we do appreciate it, Graham. Yes, sir. Good luck with the rest of your season, and a couple of great races still yet to come. We'll see you next week, my friend.
No worries. Thanks, Trevor, and thanks for everything you do.
Absolutely. Thank you as well. So that is Graham Bunyan in the 101 machine. He's riding Harleys and helping people in the medical profession, but also racing these Dallara IR-18 race cars at a very high level on Sundays, and we always appreciate seeing him and David Strid joining us. David Zaleski gave it everything that he could here today and finished in second place. And of course, we do have to give a big shout out to Jason Lowe, who ended up finishing fourth, but he was just absolutely solid in his fourth place finish, and tried to give it everything that he could here today as well. What a fantastic way to bring Rescue Ranch into everybody's homes. And we do encourage you to head on over, as we mentioned, to rescueranch.com or rescueranchadoptions.com and check it out. You know, like I said, it doesn't take anything to copy and paste their URL into your social media feed. Lots more people will find out about them, and you know, and certainly you can make your donations, get involved. Rescue Ranch is a great organization, and so proud to have them and Jason Lowe's sponsorship going forward. So that's going to do it for us here on VirtualRacing.Network. Our final two races are coming up here. You'll want to stay tuned right here on VirtualRacing.Network next week. Of course, be heading back to Watkins Glen, and then finally our final race will be at Indy, and you won't want to miss it. Next week will be Parkinson's Awareness, presented by myself, and I'm so happy to be able to do that. So we'll see you next week for that. In the meantime, I hope you take care of yourself. You have a wonderful rest of your week. Please wish your mother happy Mother's Day if you're in the part of the world that celebrates that. And in the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your week. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.